What is Anakeesta and are they really worth the cost? Let's take a look today at this massively popular Smoky Mountain attraction in a 4-part series on Anakeesta. Welcome to Bear Facts, where we explore the Smoky Mountains one bear fact at a time. This is the first of the 4-part series on Anakeesta. This place has so much to offer and so many moving parts that I felt it would be easier to just break it into bite-sized pieces. The footage in this video was taken over a 3-year span, showing the growth of the park and many of the different seasons. In this first part, we'll give you all the basic Anakeesta facts, including pricing, transportation, and general tips to help you enjoy your experience more. In part 2, we will discuss the attractions that come with the basic admission versus added attractions that do not come with the price of admission. Part 3 is all about the food, drinks, and shopping, and part 4 will take a look at Anakeesta through the seasons and celebrations. I will leave links in the description for each video. So, let's learn about Anakeesta and what you can expect if you visit in 2024. Named after a common rock formation and its sister in the Smoky Mountain National Park, Anakeesta Knob, the Anakeesta Park is in Gatlinburg is a family-friendly attraction that transports guests to the top of a mountainside and deposits you at the top. The attraction has full amenities at the top, including dining, children's interactive play areas, live entertainment, drinks, and shopping, and yes, there are bathrooms. Quite honestly, the only thing they're missing to make it a real city are sleeping quarters. Though if they can find the room, I'm sure you can expect that someday. Anakeesta first opened in September of 2017 in Gatlinburg. They are close to the intersection of 321 and 441, right across from the Ripley's Aquarium and the Gatlinburg Margarita location. Anakeesta doesn't have their own parking lot, but there is paid parking behind the attraction as well as public paid parking a block down the street. Public parking ranges from $10 to $25. The least expensive is the public parking garage a block down from Anakeesta on the corner of 321 and 441. The other parking lots range in price depending on the time of the year or just which one you go to. Anakeesta doesn't allow outside drinks or food unless it's a medical necessity, which you can argue that water is a medical necessity. To be honest, I don't see how they can control or monitor this. In fact, I didn't even know food and drink wasn't allowed until I did the research. It wasn't until I looked online that I saw it was even a rule. So let's say that I have violated that rule many times and not even realized it. But this wouldn't be Bear Facts without the facts, so I just wanted to make sure y'all know. Also, since you are allowed to bring a backpack, that makes it even harder to control, and I'm sure they know people are bringing things they purchased in shops below, so it's a really hard rule to enforce. However, they are very clear on firearms and don't allow them at the top. Some people watching this video might be thinking, duh, who allows firearms in a public space? But you have to remember that if you are at Anakeesta, you're also in Tennessee, not the national park. Tennessee has more liberal firearm rules and regulations. Unlike New York and other states, it's the business's responsibility to advertise if guests are not allowed to carry. So, unless they have a sign, a guest can carry if they have an out-of-state carry permit with Tennessee reciprocity or are a Tennessee resident and are not in a bar or have liquor, well, open liquor. Maybe even closed, I'm not sure about that one. You can carry a concealed weapon anywhere, unless the business clearly advertises you can't. We have been told by the staff that Anakeesta has armed security, which might make you feel more or less nervous or safe. The ticket booth for Anakeesta is at the base of the mountain right on 441. Here you can purchase tickets or redeem your tickets purchased online. They advertise if you purchase a ticket online, you'll get a $2 discount and can skip the line, at least skip the line to the ticket booth if you purchase through the website. Though if you purchase or receive tickets through a third party, you might be asked to go through the ticket booth before you can get into line to head to the top of the mountain. I would highly suggest purchasing tickets ahead of time if you're planning on visiting during a holiday weekend, especially around Thanksgiving and Christmas season or 4th of July. We have seen wait times up to an hour just to get on the chairlifts or the Ridge Rambler, their motorized transportation system, and that didn't include the time you would spend at the ticket kiosk. Anakeesta, like many businesses in a high tourist area, don't have a problem taking advantage of supply and demand effect when it comes to their admission prices. The higher the demand, the higher their admission prices. The lower the demand, the lower the prices. So when you plan your visit, you might want to take a look at their calendar to see what the prices will be for the time of your visit. And since Anakeesta changes their opening hours and closing hours and days throughout the year, you might really want to check out that calendar. The prices range from $34.99 to $36.99. Not a huge difference, but it's still happening. And there are discounts for children ages 4 to 11 and adults over the age of 60. Nope, I'm not going to call them seniors. Tennessee residents also receive different discounts or deals. Probably the best deal will be the annual passes. They start at $69.99, but you will get unlimited access to the facilities, and this might be the real bonus, all annual pass members also get a skip the line for the lift chairs. You won't get the same privileges for the gondolas or the Ridge Ramblers, but it's very helpful when you are using the chair lifts. Just a side note about pass holders, if you plan on visiting Anakeesta more than 3 times, a season pass will pay for itself. But if you're only going one time, you might want to save your money and just pay for the single visit. However, if you are trying to decide if the pass is worth your money, considering that you'll also receive up to 20% discount on food, non-alcoholic beverages, merchandise, and discounts on other add-ons, including the mountain coasters, ziplining, and Astrolumina. But another thing to add to your consideration is that you also get a free pass for a guest. If you are very budget conscious, I would consider doing a little math and see if it would be worth it. I probably should explain what the difference between the chairlifts, gondolas, and Ridge Rambler is. So here it is. The attraction offers guests 2 fantastic options to access the top of their sprawling enterprise. The first is to take the chairlifts, which can comfortably hold up to 4 people. Personally, I wouldn't push anything past 4 people, but if you have little people, you might get away with 5. Though, if you have a party member who might want more room, just let the attendant know you want separate chairs. Anakeesta advertises that the trip to the top of the mountain takes 10 to 15 minutes. For reasons I'll explain later, I would take that time estimation with a mountain of salt and add a minimum of 5 to 10 minutes. Some might wonder why I would complain about getting to take longer time than expected on the chair. I mean, the views are spectacular, so why would you care if it takes you a little longer to get to the top? Well, hold on to that thought and I'll explain in a minute. Let me first describe the chairlifts and the gondolas before moving on. Their chairlifts have a plastic covering and they're kind of padded. There is a pull-down bar that guests are responsible for securing once you load up on the chair. By secure, I mean you basically pull the bar down and sit. They don't latch and there are no seatbelts, so each member has complete autonomy. The chairs are bench-shaped with a sizable gap between the backing and the seat. Because of this, I never leave anything in my pockets, even going so far as to make sure I securely zip my phone or drink in my backpack. The gap is sizable, not so much that you should worry about falling through, though it can be a little disconcerting to see very small children sitting up against the back, though there has never been a situation where someone has slipped through. I can't help but imagine it. I'm going to guess the reason they didn't have a full bench without the gap is to help with the wind. It gets very windy up there, and that might keep the chairs from swaying excessively. And that's only a guess. Before getting onto either the chairlift or the Ridge Rambler, you'll need a wristband. You'll get a band once you get into line. Even guests who have season passes need to pass through the line to get the bands. Season pass holders have their own line, so ask an attendant where it starts. It isn't always clear. Once you have your wristband, you can get onto the Ridge Rambler or the chairlift lines. The Ridge Rambler line is separate from the chairlifts. You need to go to the back of the kiosk where you'll find a few benches and a corral area. If you choose to go on the chairlift, you'll need to stay in line. There is no way to skip the line to get to a gondola. You just have to wait it out. The chairlifts are usually the most expedient way to the top. There will be a queue for people who want to use the lift system. Of course, you are given the chance to get a photo as you get through the line. You can decline the photo op or just get one and see what it looks like. The photos will be available to view once you reach the summit. When you finally get to the chair platform, the attendant will direct you to stand on the numbers on the ground and have you wait for the chairs. Just the heads up, they don't stop the chairlifts for guests to get on and off the chairs. You do need to be a little nimble to hop on and at the end, or you will get run over by the chairs. So if you have any mobility limitations, I would not use the chairs, but rather wait for a gondola or use the Ridge Rambler. So, if you have little ones or individuals in your party who need wheelchairs, scooters, or strollers and still want to get the full experience of seeing the mountains from the cable lines, there are the gondolas. If you have strollers but don't want to use the Ridge Rambler or wait for the gondolas, just let the attendants know and they will sometimes send the stroller on a separate lift to the top behind you. The gondolas are mostly enclosed lift cables or cabins that can fit up to 6 people. I say mostly since they aren't fully enclosed. Anyway, online they advertise that up to 6 people can be squeezed into one of these things, and these cabins are highly desired by guests. When you get in line, you can choose to get in the gondola line or the chairlift line. Don't be fooled by the short-looking gondola line. Each party will wait a minimum of 5 to 10 minutes for each gondola to pass. So even if there are only 2 parties ahead of you, you can be waiting at least 10 to 20 minutes for your ride. When it's busy, you can wait a long time in that line because there are only 8 gondolas in Anakeesta. That's it. Just 8. So in order to get in one, you have to wait for each one to come through. In the meantime, guests on the chairlifts will be hopping and off while you wait. So one huge difference between the chairlifts and gondolas is that the attendants will slow or even stop the line for guests getting on and off gondolas. When the park first opened, they used to have a speaker repeating that the chairlifts and gondolas will not stop for any reason. Well, that was a bunch of bull even then, because they stopped for almost every single gondola rider. Now, let me explain why this was frustrating for the rest of us. There are 2 big things that many first-timers learn quickly. The first is that it gets cold on that line at night and in the spring and winter months. Those darn chairs will leave you dangling 60 feet in the air with no protection from rain, wind, or weather. Because the loudspeaker kept telling us we wouldn't be stopping for any reason, you didn't plan ahead, and you end up freezing on that chair in your shorts and tank top for over half an hour because they lied to you and they did stop frequently. The chairs stopped and slowed down so often that the short 10 minutes now became 30 minutes. So it was almost a relief when they stopped lying to guests and stopped the recorder. Now, you do have to anticipate the stops and you know it's coming. Check the weather and make sure you bring a jacket if you plan on being up there at night. Now, the second and most important thing that first-timers learn is that they are deathly afraid of heights. When you're looking from below, it doesn't look that high. So many guests think, I can do that. Now, I want to be serious about this. This ride is not easy if you have even a mild fear of heights. Once you're on the chair, there is no getting off in the middle. I've seen many people in hysterics riding that chair, sobbing so hard that they have a panic attack. It's very hard to watch people experience such terror for something they paid to get on for a fun attraction. And worse is when the ride keeps stopping and slowing down for each gondola. And each time it comes to a stop, your fear rackets up and you feel each jolt. You are helpless and there isn't anything you can do but grip the lap bar and try not to think about how there is nothing but an unsecured bar and a tiny cable keeping you from plummeting to the ground below. Okay, so I'm not trying to frighten people, but that's the reality you face if you have any fear of heights and go on one. I can tell you this from personal experience, since that was how my first time felt. But I refused to give in to my fears and went back on over and over again. I even tried to do a little research and learned how the chairlift system works and looked for times when people did die from them. I know, it's a little morbid. But it helped me move past my fears as I learned more about them and how safe they actually are. In my search, I learned that the wires almost never break, and the only times there have been fatalities were suicides or if there was a malfunction that was due to maintenance. Anakeesta is new, and they have too much to lose if something happens. Even if I didn't have faith in human corporate compassion, I do have faith in corporate greed. If there's a malfunction on that level, they would be out of business. So I have faith that the company won't allow that to happen if at all possible. This is the reason they have shut down if there is any high winds or possible weather that can endanger guests. And they are willing to shut down frequently, advertising that safety is their number one goal. So this is where I'll talk about the alternative to the chairlift. The Ridge Ramblers are vans and buses that take guests to the top of the mountains by a side road. It is a narrow one-way road that only Anakeesta vehicles have access to. So keep that in mind that guests can't drive up there on their own. I'm not going to lie and say you feel absolutely safe on this ride, but it is way better than the chairlift for guests with fear of heights. When they first opened the park, they were still working out the kinks, like adding guardrails and better communication. When we went on the first time, there were little to no guardrails along the narrow, thin road. So when you were sitting on the Rambler, you could see the edge of the mountain and let your imagination run wild. They have since put in guardrails, but you still feel the heights. Another thing that would happen when they first started using their Ramblers was the communication, and it didn't happen very well. It happened often where you were riding up on the Ridge Rambler and you see another one coming down around a sharp corner and wondered, how was that going to work out? Yeah, remember it was a one-lane road also? I have to give it to the early drivers. They were very talented and can make those massive vehicles maneuver in places they aren't meant to be moving. As a guest on one of those trips, quite terrifying. Thankfully, they have fixed that little miscommunication problem, and when you're heading up the mountainside, they always pull over midway and allow the Ridge Ramblers going down a chance to pass in a wide clearing before finishing the trip. The Ridge Ramblers are great for people who have a fear of heights, but also better for days when it's rainy or cold. The Ramblers are also the best way for people with disabilities to access the top. The larger Ramblers have hydraulic lifts for guests who have electronic scooters and wheelchairs. The company has several vehicles of different sizes between vans, large buses, and medium-sized ones. If there's a lightning storm or the weather changes, all guests will be directed to use the Ramblers to get to the bottom again. If you plan on using the Ridge Ramblers, there is also a website that you can use to time when to get on the buses. The site shows where the vans are and gives you an accurate timetable for their arrival at either the top or the bottom of the loading areas. So let me sum up some things that will help you when visiting Anakeesta for the first time. First, if possible, save money and time by purchasing your tickets ahead online. 2, check the weather before going up. If there's a chance of rain or the temperature will drop, consider bringing a jacket or just take the Ridge Rambler. But if you do forget, you can purchase sweaters, rain gear, or jackets in their store on the mountaintop. I'm not gonna lie, I've made that mistake and I own quite a few of Anakeesta's warm weather apparel. 3, consider saving money by bringing your own drinks. Even though it's not allowed, you do need water. It's a necessity of life. 4, leave your weapon in your car. You can always go back and pick it up after you get to the top. And 5, really evaluate your feelings of heights before getting on the chair. It is not a comfortable experience if you have a panic attack 60 feet above the air. If there is any possibility you might have a problem, just use the Ridge Rambler. There is no shame in being cautious. There is no doubt that the views from the chairs are spectacular and can be fun to glide up above the road and buildings below. The trip down is better since you have the chance to look out at the mountains, and you might even get the chance to see one of the locals, the black bears that call Anakeesta home. We have seen them many times during our visit. Some of the best views of the bears were actually on the Ridge Rambler, but you can expect to see them anytime or anywhere. I hope this video helps you plan your visit. Please note that we at Bear Facts do not get paid or get any kickbacks for talking about these businesses. You're getting an honest review from our personal experience. But facts and things change, so please let us know if you've learned anything new and want to share your experiences in the comments. Thanks again for visiting us at Bear Facts, the Smoky Mountains. Please click that like button and subscribe to our channel.